Hello there. We are in Oregon in the Willamette Valley with Mark Leichty of Little Prince Plants. And this is a really cool nursery here. You're growing a lot of different things, right?
We grow approximately 1,600 different varieties, everything from some very high-end house plants to succulents, ground covers. Yeah, we grow a lot.
Right, nice. So you can shop them at littleprinceplants.com, but we're getting a behind-the-scenes tour here today, and we're outside right now because something I really love visiting you for is just your landscaping. You've done a really nice job. They've got all these mature specimens, and they're beautifully layered. So what I want to learn from you today, because I love succulents in the landscape. They're really great. They're drought tolerant, high heat, poor soil. You know, you can kind of neglect them. But the other thing I want in landscaping is balance and creating levels and height. And so many of our cold hardy, frost hardy succulents are really low to the ground. Right. They're pretty small scale. Yeah. They might spread, but they're not going to get tall. So I'm hoping you can share with us some companion plants that add those levels and height to a landscape.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another thing that those plants do is a lot of the things that I've chosen for this, they're drought tolerant, of course, and they also attract pollinators.
Oh, nice.
And so it's a great partnership of those plants.
Great. All right, well, let's hop to it.
All right.
So what is our first companion plant here?
So our first companion plant is Sinningia invasion force.
Okay.
So of all these companion plants, when you're planting them with succulents, probably the first thing they have to be is drought tolerant.
Yeah.
So everything we'll look at today is drought tolerant. We're really, at Little Prince, we're really big on growing plants that are pollinator friendly and hummingbird friendly. And this is both.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's got these really cool tubular flowers that hummingbirds just love it.
It looks like hummingbird candy.
And bees too. A lot of Sinningias are houseplants.
Oh, really?
So there's a few that are hardy. This is actually the hardiest of all the Sinningias, zone 6 hardy.
Okay.
Great landscape plant, and it'll go in any place that you've got a dry spot that it doesn't need regular watering in the summertime.
Gotcha. So, it's got this nice fuzzy foliage.
Yeah.
Huh? Oh, wow. How big is this going to get?
So it'll get about 4 feet by 4 feet.
Okay. And I imagine rocky soil, it's fine?
It's fine. And so what I would do with this, like to use this as sort of a backbone anchor for a garden bed, and then create some rock work in front of it that sempervivums and other hardy succulents can be tucked into the crevices. And so
because this looks like it's going to go a little bit sprawly, kind of? Tall but sprawly?
It's more upright than sprawly.
Okay.
The stems actually, when it's out in the landscape, do tend to stay fairly go fairly upright.
Nice. Well, that's going to give you the height then for your little things in front.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So, yeah.
Sinningia invasion force. All right, Mark, who is up next?
So up next is Drymus lanceolata. And so the common name of this is mountain pepperbush. Oh. And I think one of the big attractors of it is the red stems. It also is, unlike Sinningia invasion forest, this is evergreen.
Oh, nice.
So, and you can, as this grows, and it's going to get 4 to 5 feet tall, you can do a lot of pruning on these to kind of sculpt them and open them up. Like they can grow very dense so you can't see through them. Or if you want to, you can actually open them up to, give some, to be able to actually look through the shrub to see other things beyond it. And
probably appreciate the red stems of it even more.
Yeah. Huh. So it flowers. The flowers are very attractive to bees, but very cool looking evergreen that it's drought tolerant, makes a great companion plant for succulents.
Okay, and you said common name mountain pepper. Is it actually in the pepper family, or just has a?
Yeah.
All right. And the flowers on it are what color?
White flowers, kind of a dainty flower. The flower is nothing terribly spectacular,
Okay.
but it is to bees.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, who is this beauty?
So this is Dicliptera suberecta. It is, the common name of it is Chilean firecracker flower. Intensely hummingbirds cannot stay away from this. So
I can imagine.
it's great for that. It's great for other pollinators. It's not going to get as tall as a couple of the first two things that we looked at. So this will ultimately get, at the most, the flower spikes will be about 2 feet.
Oh, okay.
And if I'm using this with succulents, I would build some kind of rockery structure to contain this plant, and then plant the succulents in front of it, or you could plant cactus. It's something that's going to get taller even. I'm a big fan of using pieces of like slate, just like 1 inch thick pieces of slate that almost like that look like a 2x6 or something, but they're rock. And just setting them vertically in to create crevices.
Yeah.
And also using that kind of thing to contain the plants that that you want to basically use as a backdrop for your succulents, but you don't want them to throw themselves over the top of them so you can't see the succulents anymore.
Right.
So creating some kind of little wall structures to just keep them back and point them in the other direction.
Yeah.
It allows the succulents to grow in front of them, and they look great together, and they work really well together because they have the same water needs.
And the succulents are going to love that crevice garden too.
Absolutely,
really,
yeah.
okay. Healthy and beautiful growth.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of, I love this color combination.
Yeah,
of
isn't
the,
it? Yeah.
Corally and the kind of fuzzy.
And it's kind of a fuzzy with almost a bluish tinge. Yeah.
So will they try to spread then?
They'll not very fast.
Okay.
A plant like this is probably 2 to 3 years old, and that's about how big it would be in the landscape in 2 to 3 years. It will slowly start to creep out from that and just make a mound, but certainly not aggressive or invasive in any way.
Yeah. All right. And about how hardy is this one too?
This is going to be a zone 7, solid 7.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, number 4, who do we have here?
So this is Carokia cotoneaster.
Okay.
And so this one is actually in our landscape here at Little Prince. I think this plant is kind of one of those love or hate plants because, one person can look at it and think, God, it looks dead. But if you look at it closely, it's got tiny little leaves in here, but it always has this kind of like a Tim Burton look to it that I love this paired with gold nugget.
Okay.
Just the blackness of the stems, because they do look black a lot of the time, and it's deciduous, so the little green leaves are going to drop off of this. And what you're left with in the winter is almost black looking stems that are just kind of gnarled up and super cool. And then in the spring, it gets a gorgeous flush of yellow flowers. Oh. So, it pairs so well with gold nugget. During gold nuggets, color changes so when this has lost its leaves in, say, November, that's about when gold nugget is really looking like it's on fire.
Oh, I love it.
And so you've got that hot, glowing orange look with gold nugget and these black, gnarly stalks behind it. Another thing you can do with this, which we haven't bothered to do here, but if you look at the twistiness of these branches, you can open this plant up a lot, and it really looks best when you get in there and culture it and take a lot of the inner little branches out of it, so you can really see that twisted, gnarly structure of it.
Right. Yeah, it's really sculptural. The stems and the branches here are really zigzagged.
Yeah, it's super cool, and you either love it or you hate it.
Right. And it looks like in this season you've got a nice contrast with these orange berries in there that offset really nicely. Yeah. Cool. So, and probably a lot of the yellow kind of sedum and gold nugget would do nicely with it.
It would, yeah.
And last but not least, our final stop. Who do we have here?
So we have, this is Salvia macrophylla hot lips. Any of the salvias are awesome companion plants for succulents because they're very drought tolerant, intensely pollinator attractive. I'm personally partial to Salvia greggii.
Okay.
The Salvia greggii has a very beautiful range of colors that it's available in today, from intense purples to reds to pinks, even blue. And it stays a little smaller than, so the macrophyllas get larger than the greggii in general. And a greggii will tend to stay a little bit more just compact, but both of them are great companion plants. You know, they bring in the pollinator.
Oh yeah, the bees are having a field day right here now. And you were pointing out how some of these are turning white.
So on this one, Salvia hot lips can actually, and we're not totally sure why it does this, but you get like white reversions, or sometimes you'll get fully white flowers like this one, and the entire plant can actually turn white. But then again, when you cut it down, it comes back in the spring and it's red again.
So it's not a permanent reversion.
So it's not a permanent reversion. It just will do that from time. It'll throw out white flowers.
Huh.
So
Any idea why?
Somewhere in its genetics. I'm not sure what triggers that color change. I've seen it happen, you know, not just in Portland, you know, up in Seattle. I've seen plants do that too. And you know, sometimes you can have a plant that's half white and half pink. It's just, it's really odd.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, and which succulents would you pair with a salvia?
So, if you want to stick with the pollinator theme, Delospermas.
Oh, yeah.
Like bees love Delosperma flowers. That would be, I think, a great choice for putting in front of something like this. Yeah.
And so this is the macrophylla. How big does the greggii get?
So the greggii are going to stay about 2 feet tall.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
okay.
so much more contained and much tighter also looking.
I see. Okay.
So yeah, and I think one of the reasons I think Delospermas are great with them is because the color ranges that you can get, say in the Jewel of Desert series, could really nicely go along with your Salvia greggii.
Yeah, some jewel tones.
Yes.
And kind of,
yeah.
Okay, very nice.
I think the bees would have a hard time deciding who they want to spend their time with.
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Mark, thank you so much.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure.
I've learned so much here. You know, I know succulents, but I don't really know their companions so well. So thank you so much.
Anytime.
And you can find more of Mark and these plants over at littleprince.com, right?
Little Prince Plants.
Littleprinceplants.com.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.